So I'm a diehard romantic, and I wasn't going to let one failed marriage get in the way of my dream of finding true love. My soulmate was somewhere out there, and I consider myself a risk taker. So I signed up on one of those dating websites, and I found a great guy 3 days later, which was really nice. Because maintaining a profile on one of those sites is like a full-time job, and nobody has time for that. So I've been divorced for about 10 years, and I felt like I was ready for a mature relationship. And this guy was older, he had a well-established career, and I felt like we really connected. He really got me. And it wasn't because I had filled out a detailed dating profile that listed everything short of my social security number. No. We had so much in common. We even shared the same birthday. So clearly the universe was sending me a sign. Shortly, we exchanged emails for about a week. And then we exchanged phone numbers. And, he was a divorced single parent just like me. And he was really romantic. He introduced me to the poetry of Khalil Gibran. And if the musings of an early 20th century philosopher doesn't get your panties wet, I don't know what will. Shortly thereafter, he started flying me from Virginia Beach to visit him in Baltimore. And he would drop me off at day spas. He would take me shopping. He took me on my first limo ride. He took me on a trip to New York City, and I thought, hell yeah, I'm stepping into my destiny. So, he was my dream man. And he was tall. He looked gorgeous on paper. He worked for Johns Hopkins, and he had a PhD. And when he got down on one knee 6 months after we met, in a quaint Italian restaurant, and said, will you spend the rest of your life with me? I said, hell yeah. So he sent my mother flowers to thank her for birthing me. And he showed up to meet her with his Bible in hand. She said, honey, he's the one. So he accepted a job offer out of state, and we got married in a small ceremony shortly thereafter. And I moved away to start a new life with him. He became a downtown manager in an insufferable little town in Georgia. And after we had a child, my days started blending into one another. So he would go to work. I would take my oldest to school. I would take my youngest to the gym with me. I would go to the grocery store, pick up dinner, then I'd wait for my mother's helper to arrive, and I usually had to go to some soul-sucking event with him at night. I was expected to attend with my husband, and, we went to events with the city manager and his wife, the mayor and his wife, the mayor and his mistress, whatever, and I spent the majority of my time socializing with people who were decades older than me, and my husband, his behavior started to change. He was being compared to Obama, and he believed the hype. He grew distant and self-centered and unkind. And so he would come home and say, did you watch me on the 5 o'clock news that night? I just... It grew intolerable. I mean, I was lonely. The only thing he talked about was work or, the projects at work or the press he'd done that day. And I missed my family, my friends, a town with less humidity. I hated it there. And somehow I thought that, things would be okay if I just numbed myself. I would make sure that, by the time he got home at night and the kids were in bed, that I would have drank enough wine and popped enough Tylenol PMs to be dead asleep. But, one night he came home and he actually thought I was dead, so I stopped that. he started coming home later and later, and I knew something was wrong, but I just, I couldn't prove that he was cheating, but I trusted my intuition. So he comes home to surprise me one night, or one afternoon rather, and on his lunch break. And the surprise was on him because I packed up all of his things and put them in the guest room. I figured we weren't being intimate, so why should we share a bed together? Well, he didn't find it amusing. And he told me, you have until 5 o'clock to get all of my things back into the bedroom. So that was a wrong thing to say to a woman who was in desperate need of attention. He came home that night, and nothing was moved, and he kind of went berserk. He took my cell phone, he confiscated my purse, he cut the phone line and shut off the electricity. And so I sat there silently on the couch as he cursed at me, and at one moment I kind of freaked out. It was growing hotter and hotter by the second. We had a baby in the house, and I ran past him, locked myself in the guest room, and I started tossing out all of his clothing and narrating the whole time. So, I'm like, your favorite suit is out on the front line. You might want to go get that, So he goes out the front door, and I had just enough time to grab my cell phone and dial 911. And so the first cop to arrive didn't really believe there'd been no physical violence because my husband had scratches all over his face from trying to crawl back into the open window. And, he came to his own conclusions. So we were both arrested. But when I say arrested, I mean like fake arrested, like rich people arrested. So, being left alone with him as he cursed at me and the cop was on the porch filling out the paperwork, arrested. Or being told that we had an appointment to go take our mug shots at an office, arrested. Or, being told that the charges would be dropped if we agreed to go to marital counseling, arrested, not actually going to an actual jail. But, the damage had been done, and, he blamed me. He said I put his career in jeopardy. I had seen him on the brink of insanity, and I didn't know how to come back from that. So, I knew things had to change. And one day, he went to work, and I packed my belongings in the car, and I grabbed the children, and I started driving. And I didn't stop driving until I reached my grandparents' home 3 states away. And I took the fact that the sun hadn't been out in days as a confirmation. It was shining so brightly, I thought, I'm making the right decision. I ignored all of his attempts to reconcile. And one day I sat down and I Googled him, as I did from time to time. And my heart stopped at the word indicted. My breathing grew shallow. And I sat there and I read article after article. He had been indicted for embezzlement. He had been served time previously for mortgage fraud. I'm like, how did city officials not know that before hiring him? And, there's a woman that claimed that he had fathered her child and then disappeared in Texas. And there was another woman in Baltimore, another child I knew nothing about. And then I saw it, a picture of my husband with his arms around some woman, a mistress. And I realized our entire marriage had been a fraud. So I did what any normal person would do. I started laughing uncontrollably, mostly from shock because my whole life had turned into one long episode of Who the Bleep Did I Marry? And, I heard from my husband again. He made one desperate plea by phone, asking me not to testify. I was a key witness. And he says to me, all I ever wanted, was a ride or die chick. I thought you were down for me, my Bible-toting, well-educated community leader. And, I said, well, all I ever wanted was a nice, gainfully employed husband without a criminal record. So I guess nobody got what they wanted. But, what I ended up with was a nice man after I ditched the dating websites who cares for me, who puts family above everything, and wasn't offended when I asked him to do a background check. So I guess some dreams do come true. Thank you.